You can see things. Large aquatic plant loss areas. Specific plants that were taken away included conetail, broadleaf pondweed, chara. Those plants are favorable for fish. We're not marine biologists, so we invite you to talk with a marine biologist if you're going to go to court. But we know. Phase 2, in-lake testing of lake bed impacts at 15 feet in both startups and control passes. Reveals surf mode wake boat operations do plant damage, sediment redeposition impacts, ski boats and other planing vessels. They just don't do that. They just don't do it. The energy doesn't get down that far, period. Phase 2, in-lake testing of the lake bed impacts at 21 feet. Again, startups, control passes, bottom plant movement, sediment disturbance. The other vessels don't do that. Phase 3, in-lake testing of lake bed impacts at both 15 and 21 feet were replicated again. And again, plant sediment disturbance with a more representative wakeboard boat, a more powerful engine. Comparable ski boats and other vessels don't have those impacts. Next slide. So what have we concluded? Wakeboat surf mode operations are producing lake bottom impacts in Lake Beulah, which are notable for disturbance in particular to aquatic plant habitat areas. Those impacts do not appear to be produced by water ski and other planing vessel operations under similar test conditions. The recent DNR plant survey data suggests that the sensitive area impacts to aquatic plants are considered favorable to game fish and lake water quality in Lake Beulah. We think if you want to add some bullets to your bandolier, you get a marine biologist to say absolutely. We found in our studies that the root structure of lake bed plants is different. Some lake bed aquatic plants don't have much of a root structure. They just sort of lay on the bottom. Others penetrate down and hold. The ones we're speaking about don't have much of a root structure, so they get ripped up. The DNR Critical Habitat Area Study has established that the areas being impacted by wakeboat surf mode operations are occurring, and they are adjacent to several of those designated critical habitat areas on your lake. Wakeboat surf mode operations, particularly propeller downwash, producing sediment disruption and redistribution impacts to the water column. The composition of those sediments in this study we did with you guys was not part of what we were asked to look at. But in other studies that we've done and other groups have done, there are some impacts based on what's in those sediments, particularly nutrient release. And you don't see that with planing vessels. Sizable population on your lake of home lake riparian owner wakeboats, 50 plus, I understand. But you also have a lake where they bring wake boats in, so that aggregates the problem. Science informs public policy. We are happy to take questions, and Charles and I will do that together. I think you had your hand up first, sir.
I tried. Thank you. I think you were right on time, by the way. You were taking 51 minutes before, but that included the introduction. So you're perfect in time. So I'll be quick. One thing that you only touched on was armoring of the lake shores. And a suggestion that's been made is that all the problems around waves about effect on the lakeshore will be solved if everybody armors their shore. And what's your reaction to that?
With riprap.
Well, having been a lake owner for 40 years on North Lake and now Lake Monoman, which is not a nice lake, by the way, it's expensive. Why can't the owner of the vessel go further out and not make me spend $10,000 to put rocks in?
Something that I've read is that when the wave hits the shore, it doesn't just die there. It comes back, rebounds and scrapes the bottom.
Yeah, Charles and I said we're neighbors on North Lake, on the Little Lake. One of the things, we're both sort of curious types, right? So the North Lake, Little Lake is 104 acres. It's about a half mile across, not even that. We noticed when wakeboard boats are operating on both sides of that lake, they've got waves going back and forth. No one has studied yet that we know what is the impact of the interaction effect. So it hits the shoreline, goes back out the other way, hits the shoreline on the other side, goes back out the other way, meets in the middle, produces more energy. It's not been studied. So I don't want to say anything about it because it's just a hypothesis, but it would be certainly something to investigate. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
I think you were next.
Yeah, my question is, what effect does the water turbulence have on suspended fish, i.e. bait fish, juvenile, and adult fish? And
Yeah.
secondly, what long-term effect will this have on the ecosystem of the lake?
Yeah. Okay, good questions. Fish impact first, then ecosystem of the lake second. I'm not an ichthyologist.
Understand?
Right. What I do know is that fish are like people. They like to feel safe. So they like to be in places where the habitat protects them and covers them and they can hide. We're talking about effects that take that away. Will it have an impact on game fish? Perhaps. You can extrapolate.
My question is more of the suspended fish, say bait fish, and that boat comes over the top of them and say they're down 12, 15 feet. Will that turbulence potentially kill that school of bait fish, or do they have time to move out of the way? Or
Well, there's impacts. Other studies have demonstrated fish bed impacts, right? So their habitats are harmed. In shallow water, the nesting of the fish, the eggs, they're just gone. They're just destroyed. Now, lake, second part of your question was lake ecosystems. Draw your own conclusions. There you need a hydrologist. Yes, ma'am. Oh, wait. Yeah. Go ahead, Blue.
I have.
No, the one right
Can you go over again those definitions? I forget who you said the definitions were by, about the surf zone areas.
Yeah.
I'm especially curious about the amount of acres, you know, because I know the websites of the Lake Sport people say, you know, repetitive passes are bad. So I was curious to know, what is the acres? And I know you did say it was at depths of greater than 20 feet, but if you could go over the attributes of what the surf zone are, and whose definition was that again?
So you'll find that definitional language from the last Wilderness Alliance here in Wisconsin. And if you go out to the websites from Vermont, the group that has been, the center of gravity on getting the legislation changed in Vermont, I think they were responsible waves, something like that. Jack Witness is the fellow. If you get me afterwards, I'll get you a reference. And ma'am, you had a question too.
Yes, if anybody's been on Lake Beulah, we have a bench out there. My father put it out there about 1950. It's shallow water. It's quite a ways out from shore. Everybody enjoys it. It's a landmark now. And we still put it in and out every year. But during the summer now, this will be the third year, that is sunk 3 feet down. That will come out and start floating away, and we have to re-see it. Never happened before. It's within the last 3 years. So that's how it's moving, the lake, and that's far away to the shore.
Okay, and so as you heard me say a couple times, we're very careful about what we say. I don't know why that would be happening. We didn't study it. But trust your eyes. Yeah.
So we are going to have a question and answer session after